So the other day I don't know whether I was in bed, whether I was having a dream, but I don't think I was having a dream. I think it was when I was praying. About halfway between my house and my letterbox, it's quite a straight bit of road, and I suddenly saw a signpost. I saw a signpost that was just like the yellow signpost that you see around the road. It had about 3 signs pointing out to sea, and I can't remember what two of them were, but the third one I saw was just the word Hebrews. Black writing on the yellow signpost, just like you see on the side of the road. And I sort of said, God, has that got any meaning? I mean, it's certainly no signpost there in the natural, but in the spiritual, he placed a signpost there with the word Hebrews on it. So I thought, well, maybe you're talking to me. Maybe I should read the book of Hebrews. So I read the whole book of Hebrews, and it's quite a meaty kind of a book. But it's a very encouraging book. And it actually is a kind of book that it's got a lot of maturity in it. And it can tidy up quite a few things in our mind. And so as I read through it, I realised I wasn't really capable of talking about the whole book, or did I know which bits to talk about. So what I'm going to do as a sort of a journey today is maybe just how I feel at the moment. Read some verses from the book of Hebrews, and the Hebrews were one group of people that were not Gentiles. They were, Hebrews is a word better, B-E-T-T-E-R, better. Everything's better. Go through this book and you find out things have been made better. You know, better is better than worse, isn't it? Anything that's better is always better than being worse. So,
we'll take better.
So better is a good word, and it's mentioned quite a lot in the book of Hebrews, and everything it relates to is saying that what we have now in Jesus Christ is better than the old. So that's good news, isn't it? So in case I forget to say this to you later, I think we all should read the book of Hebrews if you haven't read it. And it's 12 chapters, and if you read 2 chapters a day, you would get through it inside of a week. And in some ways you would see the amazing maturity in that book of finding out who we are and what God through Jesus Christ is actually doing for us. So I've always liked the third verse of the first chapter. So here's the sole expression. It's the third verse of the first chapter. He is the sole expression, that's Jesus, of the glory of God, the light being the outraying or radiance of the divine. And he is the perfect imprint and very image of God's nature, upholding and maintaining and guiding and propelling the universe by his mighty word of power. And when he had, by offering himself, accomplished our cleansing of our sins and riddance of guilt, he sat down at the right hand of the divine majesty on high. Isn't that a lovely verse? It's so expressive, yes. And it is really saying that the glory of God is in Jesus. He's the only expression of God.
I can follow.
He's the perfect imprint and very image of God's nature. Well, you need to look at how Jesus was and see how beautiful he was. That's how God is. The Father in heaven is exactly that. I've always thought that people that try and find out what God is like without finding him through what Jesus is like don't often get a great image of God, right? If you go back to see what Jesus was like, you can get a perfect image of God. And I think that's, I actually believe that is coming to maturity, to start know exactly what God is like. Eh? Good. And in verse 9 it says, you have loved righteousness. You have delighted in integrity, virtue, and uprightness and purpose, in thought and action. And you have hated lawlessness, injustice, and iniquity. Therefore God, even your God, has anointed you with the oil of exultant joy and gladness, above and beyond your companions. That's talking about Jesus. It says that he loved righteousness, and he didn't like lawlessness and injustice. There are things he didn't like. He said, therefore God, even your God, which is saying that the God in heaven, which was the God of the Jesus of the Godhead, has anointed you with the oil of exultant joy and gladness. Exultant joy. What is your image of Jesus like? Do you see him as an exultantly joyful being? He was anointed with exultant joy.
You've got a beautiful version, Paul.
Yeah, that's why I read
Mine
it.
doesn't say that.
No.
Yeah, what's your version?
Oh, listen, this is just a joke, but I have the better version. Sorry, that's just a bit of a fun thing there, but we're into the better today. And we need to get a better idea. It's an amplified, Mary. Yeah, amplified. We need to get a better view of Jesus. Because we get a better view of Jesus, we get a better view of what God is really like. And then we can get a better happening inside us, because we can get away from fear and guilt. You understand that? Because you've got a better view of what God is like, you can get out of the syndrome of always feeling slightly maybe grubby, or I'm being a bit of a naughty, and a guilt and a condemnation. When we get a better view, we can get away from those things. That's good news now, isn't it?
Amen.
So, yeah. So I kind of like that. I mean, I read that at the beginning of the week after this experience of the signpost with the word Hebrews on it. But exultant joy. Can you imagine how much joy exultant joy is? Can you imagine what Jesus is really like? And if Jesus is really like that, isn't the Father like that? Come on.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
We could stop there and go home on that, couldn't we? Well, we're already home. Sorry, we're already home anyway.
Yeah, we're already home.
Yeah, okay. Oh. And 3:6 in Hebrews 3:6.
Right, jump over here now.
It says, but Christ the Messiah was faithful over his own Father's house as a son. And it is we who now members of this house, if we hold fast and firm to the end of our joyful and exultant confidence and sense of triumph in our hope in Jesus Christ. I like that too. You know, it's beginning of this said that Moses was faithful over what he had to do with the children of Israel and to bring them out. But it says that the Son of God was faithful over his own Father's house. And that we now are members of that house.
Yeah.
And we can have joyful and exultant confidence. Hey, have you got joyful and exultant confidence? That's a good question. Do we have joyful and exultant confidence? Now, I know for me that's not always 100% there. It's there some of the time, but some of the time things don't look so joyful. But hey, it's kind of saying that Can we have joyful, exultant confidence in Jesus in the tough times? Can we actually, can we go through the tough times with this great confidence? But it says it's exultant and it's a joyful one. Amen. So, you know, this is just a bit of a random trail through some of these scriptures that I jotted down from there. And the other thing is, so he did it as a son. He didn't do this for God as a servant. He did it as a son. I don't know what I could get out of that, but I'm sure there's something in it that Jesus did all this for us as a son. He wasn't under an authoritative kind of servant mentality. Well, look, I've got to do this for the boss. I think that's why he was joyful. You know, I think we've all got, well, I've got sons and June's got sons. I don't know about Amy there, but you know, it's good when they actually do things joyfully for us, you know that? And I've always noticed that that's the case, and this is the way Jesus operated as a son, as a wonderful son, but not just a son that became a couch potato and put his feet up and said, well, okay, the world's okay, and we'll let what's happening on planet Earth just go by. I just want to take my rest. No, he came down and did it for us. He wasn't just slovenly, he actually did it for us. And you know why he did it? Because he loved us. Because the Father loved us. And in 3:8, it says something that's probably, you know, it's something that maybe we need to look at. You still there?
Yes. Yep.
Do not harden your hearts. So, you know, sometimes things harden our hearts. You know that? You ever got hard in an area in your heart? Well, this is just not nice and it's affecting me, and I would rather just shut it down, say goodbye to it. That sort of stuff can harden our hearts. But I said, don't harden your heart. Let Jesus' love deal with the things that sometimes pop up that really need Jesus in the midst of it to bring peace or love or joy or exultant joy. Amen. Hallelujah. In spite of. So look, I don't know what time we've got here. And in 4:1, therefore, while the promise of entering his rest still holds and is offered today, let us be afraid, lest we should think that we've come too late and have come short of reaching it. It's that rest of entering into his rest.
That's a hard word.
I think it's a beautiful word. It's saying, this doesn't say too much about being afraid of things, but it says, let us be afraid lest we think that we've come too late. Or, come too late to get it. It's never too late to go into that rest of God. Isn't that good? So right now, if you and I and everybody else think, well, we've blown it and we've got out of the rest of God, don't think it's too late to get back there. Today is a day for us to get back into the rest of God. It's called a Sabbath rest, and actually the Sabbath was a time when you didn't really do anything. But it was one day of the week. It was Saturday, the old Jewish Sabbath. And this revolves around this. But today, let us know that we can have the Sabbath rest every minute of the day. We can have it. It's yours. And don't think you've come too late to get it. We got it now. You know what? I know it's kind of a short message here, but I actually just think I'll leave it at that. I've got if you were here at the moment, you would think I'm in a TV studio. I've got sheets of paper all around me, books open, and verses here and there, and a book down there. And to be honest, it doesn't look like the church building you knew. We've got curtains all around to stop the sun shining on the screens. Otherwise, you can't see them. So we're in full TV projection mode here. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it at that. But I do suggest that you read the book of Hebrews, because if you read it before next Sunday, it will be a good foundation to see what I'm talking about, okay? Because I've only got a wee bit through it. And it's 12 chapters, and I've just got a suggestion, 2 chapters a day will get you through there. And you will see how marvellous this book is. It's a meaty kind of a book. But I think without the book of Hebrews, we would know nothing about Jesus being our high priest. And we'd know nothing about the better. Jesus is the better covenant, the better high priest. All the better things are in this book. Hallelujah. Okay, I'm just going to close there, and I want to say this. Last Sunday I said I shared something about going on a Holy Spirit trip to Paris. Do you remember? Maybe remembered that, maybe you didn't. God got me to anoint the Eiffel Tower with oil because France was in a real mess. And because of certain things that have happened, I decided to share some of the stuff which has been in me for about 15 years, but I've always thought, well, people just think a little bit nutty, so I never bothered doing it. So I just want to show you how I'm coming out of my nuttiness, and I'm going to show you. So there was one day that I was, I don't know what I was doing, and I was taken to a Middle East city. I didn't know what it was. I'm not saying it was a city, but it was a town anyway. And in this town, I'm walking up the street. Now, I don't know where I am, but it kind of looks like Middle East, and you must remember that I'm even thinking that in this thing. Where have I ended up? And I'm walking up the street, and then there was a little side street to the right, and the side street to the right was not much bigger than Southland Savings Bank Arcade, if you know how big that is. So I'm walking up there, and then there was a doorway 2 doors up. I mean, I can remember it clear as bell. 2 doors up, there was a doorway. Now, I don't know how I knew I had to go in that doorway. But anyway, I went and opened the door and went in the door. And I went into a kind of a bit like a bunker room, if you imagine what maybe something that Winston Churchill was in when he was in war mode. And it wasn't big, and there was only one person in there. Now, he was in uniform. And so a bottle of oil appeared in my hand, and God somehow indicated to me that I was to anoint this person. He was in uniform, and I realised that in some way I was in front of one of the leading army commanders of Israel. How I knew that, I don't know, but I knew that was the case. And I had to anoint him that he would be wise, that he would not give up, and he would actually understand what he was doing in this warfare. So I anointed him with that, and it was kind of like a bunker room, I tell you, and sort of dim light. But anyway, I was there. So and then I can't remember how I got home, but suddenly I was home again. At that time, which was about 10 years ago, Hezbollah, which is a group of terrorists which sort of have taken over Lebanon, were coming over the border and shelling and sending rockets into Israel. And Israel went in to stop this. Now you must remember that they're not the real Lebanese. They've gone there because for some reason somebody's put these terrorists in there and kept them supplied. And so Israel decided to go in and hunt these people out. It wasn't a great war because it lasted a month, and it was very, very difficult to get these people out from amongst this ordinary Lebanese population. So, that's what they did. And the war was really going against them for a while. And so, I can't understand this, but why I would send a guy from New Zealand to anoint one of the army commanders in some bunker in Israel. Anyway, that's what happened to me, and that's my story. It's come out in the open, and I can still remember it vividly. So you can take that as you like, but anyway, I have been in Israel, but not by the normal mechanism. So yeah, so I've still got about one story left, and as I said, I'm going to share all these stories, and I'll do that next Sunday, and then we might, yeah, be good. So.